This is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Corey provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're on our website, click on that radio page. You can check out past shows and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group to watch videos on different financial topics. You can also watch the radio show via video on YouTube as well. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions or if you want to set up a face-to-face or virtual meeting. And remember, all meetings are complimentary with no obligation. Well, today we're going to talk about robo-advisors. I actually kind of hear this a lot from prospects and clients coming in, and really we're going to kind of discuss are robo-advisors right for you? But before we kind of dive into that topic, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you today?
I am doing great. Excellent, Corey. Happy to be here. Excited about the show today. And you've been at business meetings, meeting with other advisors, traveling. So it's really been interesting for you lately, hasn't it?
It has been. Yeah. Traveled. Actually was overseas. So that was actually a nice trip.
Yeah.
But, it's always good to spend time with other advisors like you, discuss, just discuss general, find out how other advisors are actually doing things. It's always good to, work, to meet and talk with your peers just on how everything is going. But it's hard to believe here. August is right around the corner. Football's right around. School's getting ready and start. And when fall comes, it actually gets a pretty busy time here at Safe Harbor.
Yeah. Well, it is a busy time of year, and it's funny. I know we mentioned this lately because we're both excited about it. And for our listeners out there who aren't into football, you'll have to put up with it because, I love my Minnesota Vikings. That's my team because that's where I grew up. But I got a chance to attend training camp again this past weekend, and I got to see, I'll tell you what, Justin Jefferson looking good at training camp in the scrimmages. I got to see him do a little scrimmaging, and the backup quarterbacks were throwing to him. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing.
Yeah, if you have a fantasy football team, you might want to go ahead and try to get Jefferson on it.
Yeah, he's definitely, when we start talking about top three receivers with fantasy football points wise, he's up there.
Yeah, he is. Well, yeah, and I've been doing good. I'm excited about today's topic. When you told me what we're talking about today, Corey, I got really pumped up because this is kind of a pet peeve and a topic that I'm interested in. I've researched. You and I have talked about it. So I'm excited about today's show.
Yeah, I think a lot of people out there, you're seeing definitely a lot more robo advisors and 401ks.
Yep.
And really what the next question is do you really need a robo advisor, or do you want to work with a financial advisor in general? And, we'll talk about some of the pros and cons for each of them. Of course, probably one of the biggest things that you'll probably hear when you start talking about a robo advisor versus, working with an actual advisor, and fees do come into play with this, right?
Sure.
In a lot of cases, their fees could be lower. They typically are lower compared to traditional human financial advisors. And the reason why is because they're automated and they can provide the investment management maybe at a fraction of the cost. But the big downside, even though you might be paying lower fees, I mean, it is automated. It's all algorithm. It's just going to kind of do what it does. And you're not going to be able to ask them any type of questions on why they make decisions or why they buy this stock versus that stock, because it isn't automated. And that, you are going to pay a lower fee, but you're not going to be able to truly get what I would think true good advice unless you do your own research.
Well, that's my problem with the whole thing. I mean, I appreciate having computers do calculations. And, when you run numbers, obviously, you utilize that. We all utilize that. That's fine. But when it comes to the actual looking at the big picture, you get to know your clients and their own personal situation. And a computer is never going to be able to do that. And my big problem with what you're talking about, especially like, let's say you have a 401k or an IRA or a stock portfolio, we've talked about quote unquote actively managed portfolios. There's a difference between you buying stock and having money in accounts that are tied to the stock market and an actively managed account, like you, for your advisors or your clients, I should say, and people you work with. You have actively managed accounts. There's physical people watching, looking, reading the news every day, talking to the experts, and making adjustments to those accounts 24/7. They're looking at these things. So my problem with the Robo advisor is, the fees might be a little lower, but they're not truly actively managed. An algorithm cannot actively manage an account. Even with AI, it's still not actively managed because they don't have the big picture, and it's not a person looking at, okay, this person said this, that might mean this or this, and analyzing things. A computer can analyze, but only as good as the algorithm that was inputted. And we've seen the problems with algorithms. I mean, with social media platforms, they have problems with their algorithms. They don't always work. They don't give us what we want all the time. They're not 100% accurate. And you see the AI programs like Chatbot, GPT, that's not always accurate. You can get it to do things, but you have to still have a human edit it and correct errors because it is prone to make mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. In some cases, though, Tony, I will say this from a accessibility standpoint, it could actually be good. One of the things that I found out, you're getting a lot of these younger kids started investing when they used Robinhood.
Oh yeah.
So there's some advisors out there. Sure. That you have to have a certain amount of money before they'll actually even take you as a client, right?
That's true. Good point.
At Safe Harbor, we really don't have that, but there are other, financial advisors in the Columbus area that do have minimums and things like that. But, from an accessibility standpoint, they are able to reach a wider audience. You can kind of dabble, do what you kind of want to do.
It's a good point.
But just like you talked about, when we start talking about diversification and automated rebalancing, really all they're doing is based upon your risk level, they're going to rebalance and make sure that you're always in that particular risk category. And a good financial advisor is going to be that way anyway. We do everything that we do here is based upon what your risk level is. And we're always going to, rebalance that based upon your risk level. So you're going to be able to get that same type of automated rebalancing and diversification by working with an advisor. Another popular or another pro, I guess you could say, and it kind of goes a couple different ways, but if you're dealing with algorithms and you're dealing with a computer making those type of decisions, then there's not going to be any emotional bias, right?
Right.
So whether the market's up or down, it's just going to keep tracking and doing what it's supposed to be doing. But, even if you're working with a financial advisor, we're going to be doing the same thing. We take the emotion out of it. If we have you invested the correct way and it being diverse and based upon your risk level, we don't make decisions based upon all of a sudden if the market is up or down, right? We take that emotional bias away from you. And that's because this is what we do day in and day out. So And, obviously you're not going to have any emotional bias if a computer's making the decision, but I think if you're working with an advisor too, a good advisor takes that emotional bias out as well.
Well, sure. Plus, the people personally. You get to know your clients personally. And, let's say you've got client John Doe, and there's an opportunity, and you said, nope, John wouldn't like that. I'm not going to do that with his portfolio or make that adjustment because I know him personally. Or, I'm going to call John on this one and recommend this. And I think that's where an algorithm or a robo-advisor falls short. But you're right. I never thought of the advantages because I'm not young anymore and of when you're just starting out and that 401k is small and maybe, you're not at a point where you need a retirement planner or a financial advisor yet. There are things like Robinhood, and that is an advantage to get in there. But as you get older, there are so many other factors that come into play. I mean, there's Medicare planning, Social Security, there's, accounting for inflation. And I just think there's too many pieces of the puzzle that at least I think we're a long way away from any computer being able to take all that into consideration and your own personal situation.
I mean, that of course, I think that's a big con, right? Is I think when you start talking about robo-advisors, Tony, they kind of have that short-term goal focus. They don't know all the other things that kind of go with retirement planning, just like you just mentioned. Not only from a risk standpoint, but how do you plan for Social Security? Should I take a lump sum of my pension or not? Income planning. Am I going to run out of money? So those are all types of things that we can actually do. What's the best way to be able to take money out of your account when you retire? I don't think a robo-advisor is going to be able to do that type of stuff for you. And that's why I think it's so important, to work with, a financial person, because not only do you have your short-term goals in mind of where you want to accomplish over the next 5 years, we're also looking 10, 20, 30 years down the line as well to make sure you're going to have that successful retirement.
Yeah. And a robo-advisor is going to be limited. Like right now, there are robo-advisors who might do stock investments, but do they also, sit down with you and talk about, okay, here's the tax implications. Let's talk about estate planning. Let's talk about if you need a trust in place for your family. That robo-advisor that handles your stock investments, is it going to know if your family needs to set up a trust and at what point that needs to be done? I mean, no, it's not going to do that for you.
Yeah, and even when you look, Tony, from the educational resource standpoint, right? So if you're with a robo-advisor, you're going to have to do your own research. Everything's going to be online tools or videos or whatever in order to be able to educate yourself on so you can make informed decisions, compared to picking up the phone or coming in and meeting with an advisor where you can ask them questions and they'll be able to answer them or get back to you with whatever that appropriate answer is. So I think from an educational resource standpoint, that's apples and oranges, right? If you're a person that likes to do that stuff and do it all online, that's fine. But one of the things that I've really found out is, during your 20s, 30s, 40s, and maybe even early 50s, robo-advisors, what I find is when you use a robo-advisor, it's kind of like you're doing it yourself, right?
Sure.
But at some point in time, I can just tell you this, especially as your portfolio grows, you no longer want to do it yourself. Which is why you're going to want to work with an advisor, so you can actually ask them questions, so we can actually tailor solutions for you, so you can we try to set you up for the best possible way to have a good or a great retirement. And I think a lot of that's going to have to be some type of human interaction.
Yeah. The human interaction, I don't think you'll ever replace it, no matter how good AI gets. There are too many nuances that are personal, and I like that. But I do like the fact that, hey, there are advantages, because if you're working with a financial advisor like yourself, you always stay up to date on technology and utilize the latest technology to help your clients. But you've got that human element managing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think another thing that kind of goes with that, Tony, is if you're on a robo advisor, they're basically using what we call like a cookie cutter approach too, right? Every solution is going to be the same based upon the risk level. Right? Yep. We're actually able to, tailor that to be able to take your unique individual circumstances and preferences and then build a portfolio or build a retirement plan based upon that. Everyone's different. I don't care. Sometimes if you and I both have a risk score of 50, you might be still less conservative than that, and you just need to make sure that you're invested less conservatively. Yeah. Even though I might come back at a 50, I could be I could have that type of risk, or I could actually be more aggressive. But you're only going to get that if you actually interact with someone so they can actually know your true investment feelings, so they can actually tailor that around you.
Right. Yeah. I think one pro on the pro side, Corey, and you've alluded to it already, but AI has improved, and AI, there have been algorithms, but now there's AI to combine with that. So it's a little more cutting edge, but that there's pros and cons to that. Computers are getting smarter. However, with that, there have been some errors, and I don't know how long it's going to take for them to perfect AI. But right now, AI isn't trustworthy enough as far as the results to really fully rely on that, or even partially. But I see advantages in the future.
Sure. Yeah. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into like Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. But
yeah, exactly.
Where it goes totally rogue. But
or Terminator.
If you haven't seen the new Mission Impossible movie. So.
Yeah, that's the Mission Impossible movie deals with that very issue. It's a classic movie. Everyone should see it. It's great. I loved that movie. I know you liked it as well. I encourage our listeners to check it out. But this is exactly what it's about. That's funny.
Yeah, it is. Yep, it exactly is. Another part of it is by using a robo advisor, you actually might be limited on your investment options. Since they're using that type of cookie cutter approach, they're probably buying the same types of mutual funds or stocks or whatever that might end up being. But when you look at us, you have a risk score. We have like 20 to 25 different types of portfolios we can actually place you in based upon what we're really trying to accomplish, where you are in your life. So even you might be just like you might be limited on your 401ks. By working with an advisor, we're independent. So we have access to a lot of different things that we can actually put you into. So that's going to open up your investment choices, which, that's true diversification.
Yeah, the more choices, the better. And the diversification you're talking about is so important when it comes to your assets, your investments, not just within your portfolio, but overall.
Yeah, exactly right. And who's not to say that they don't have, anytime you start dealing with technology, then you also have the risk of technical glitches too. Let's face it. That stuff can happen. So that's something to also potentially look at or ask questions about if you're using a robo advisor. Is how often, if I'm doing a rebalance, does that stuff actually get messed up on? Yeah. If you're dealing with an advisor, you have that human interaction to make sure that things are actually being done the correct way and on time, the way that they're supposed to be as well. And over the last couple years, definitely since 2020, I guess, volatility in the marketplace has been high as well. Yeah. And during periods of extreme market volatility, our robo-advisors, they might not be able to provide the same level of personalized guidance and reassurance as human advisors. Believe me, I've had so many calls with clients over the last 2 years because they're afraid of what was actually taking place. Right. And that's where, we're dealing with that human emotion. Now, I'm able to take that human emotion out, but I'm still dealing with an individual that has a lot of high anxiety or emotions about what's taking place in the market because no one wants to lose money. And, we're able to actually, talk to them and tell them what we're actually thinking, or at the, worst case scenario, maybe we do move things around a little bit, but we're doing that, based upon a phone call or an email that comes into our office where we can actually, talk to that client face to face or via Zoom or phone call as well.
Yeah, it is. It's tricky, and I just would not want to leave that up to an AI or an algorithm, that's for sure. But these things are going to, I think, become more popular, at least on some level. But it's more like on a starter level or a small-scale level. You don't want to leave your overall picture. It still doesn't replace what a financial advisor does, looking at the big picture, which, working with tax professionals and estate planning and Medicare and Social Security and insurance, health insurance, life insurance. Do you need a CD or a fixed index annuity in addition to investments? These things, you have to look at all the tools in the toolbox. And right now, there's no algorithm that's looking at all the tools in the toolbox.
That's exactly right. And hey, let's face it, I think one of the biggest, whether it's a pro or a con with a robo advisor or a financial advisor, is the fee that you pay the advisor. And I think the fee becomes, here's what I always tell clients, and I think this is very important for everyone to understand, right? We charge a fee to manage anything that we have invested in the market. However, whatever you have, believe me, we need to make money at the company.
Right.
We're incented to grow your portfolio.
Yeah.
Right. And it turns into a win-win situation for our clients. If your portfolio goes up, you make more money, and so do we. So believe me, we're incented to be able to grow that portfolio. Now, as the investor, does it hurt when the market actually goes down? Sure. But when you're working with an advisor and we're taking all this stuff into consideration too, hopefully you didn't lose as much as you would have if you actually would have invested yourself. So we can actually provide even some safety nets, hopefully for our clients, not safety nets, but hopefully we can actually manage the portfolios in a down market where, maybe you lose money, but maybe you don't lose as much.
Sure.
And I think that's important as well. Believe me, we're incented to grow that portfolio. That's something that we want to be able to do for our clients. It makes the clients happier when they are able to, to see that. But you're also paying for all this other extra, for all the other advice that we're able to provide you as well, right? Whether it's on Social Security or Medicare planning or estate planning, or just building your income plan, or if you have questions, should I pay my mortgage off? Right? There's so many financial questions that come about. Should I put money into CD or whatever it might end up being?
Yeah.
That we're able to, you're able to bounce those questions off of us anytime that you want to, and we're going to be able to provide some type of solution for you.
Exactly. Dealing with debt, things like that. Now, we're almost out of time for today's show, Corey. Is there anything else you have for our listeners before we go today?
Yeah, for our listeners out there, just give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit our website at safeharboroh.com. We're here to help and guide you to make sure you have the best retirement possible. And the best way to do that is to schedule a complimentary, no-obligation meeting with us. Again, if you have a financial plan, we can be that second opinion. If you don't have one, we'll put one in place for you. It's the key to have a successful retirement is to be able to have a financial plan, and we're here to help and guide you to make that happen. So just give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can always visit us online at safeharboroh.com.
All right. Well, Corey, great show today, listeners. That does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio with our host, Corey Sickles.
Join us again soon for another episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Thank you for listening to Financially Fit Radio. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, contact Corey Sickles at Safe Harbor Retirement Group. Call 614-760-0670 or visit their website at financiallyfitoh.com.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.